Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this class. Um, I'm Dr. Anita Khoso, and I'll be your facilitator for today's class. Apologies for the name. The name is wrong here. I'm Anita, so yeah. Um, a little introduction of myself. I'm a lecturer at the University of Greater Manchester, and I teach public health and medicine. So that's a bit about my introduction. This session is a recorded one, so you can have the recordings and you feel free to see them whenever you need to. So these will be uploaded onto your page. So the camera will be on. Um, so just bear with me while I share the session details with you. Yeah. So I hope you can see my screen. So this session is it's human physiology, where we will talk about the aspects of human physiology. And it has a credit value of unit 6. It's level 3, and you will be having it's a graded unit. So there are two learning outcomes in this whole unit. Okay, so this first learning outcome is to understand that the human body comprises of organs and systems. Here we will want you to describe the level of organization within an organism, to describe the examples of the major organ systems in the human body, explain the relationship between the structure and the function of the organ system, and to explain how organ systems work together to maintain normal body functioning. The second learning outcome is to understand that homeostasis is the key process which maintains the internal environment of the body. Here, we will want you to explain the concept of homeostasis and to explain how the endocrine system is well suited to maintain homeostasis. Okay, so these are some of our learning outcomes. We will go through them in more detail. Just give me a minute. Okay, so we'll talk more in detail about this, and we'll talk about the grading and how the assignment will work as well. So a bit about what we will be doing to the indicative content. So we will talk about the levels of organization. So the organism, the organ system, the organ itself, the tissue, cell, the organelle, and the molecule or the atom. We will talk about homeostasis, positive and negative feedback mechanisms, examples of control, how are the body systems controlled through blood glucose levels, osmoregulation, what is the endocrine system and how is it made up. So it's the hormonal control as well in it. The location of key glands, where are different glands situated within the body, the action of insulin and glucagon in the control of blood sugar levels. We will talk about the nervous system, the mechanism of transmission of an impulse, action potential, what is different types of conduction processes. Okay. And then we'll talk about the digestive system. And the cardiovascular system will be discussed in detail, the respiratory system and the excretory system. So this is a little bit about what this whole unit entails. Now I will give you a bit more in about the two learning outcomes that we have for human physiology. Okay, so this is going to be a packed session where I will take you through the whole process of how it works. And we'll have an assignment discussion as well. As I said, the session is recorded, so if you have any questions, you can always raise them when you watch this video. And if you have, so we're there to support you in your understanding. So the first learning outcome is to understand that the human body comprises of organ systems. So our whole system is made up of organs and organ system. So the levels of organization are various. So we have the nervous system, we have the digestive system. Excuse me. Yeah. The digestive system, the cardiovascular system, the respiratory system, the excretory system. So they have their different roles and their functions. So any one of these that goes uncontrolled or does not function normally, that means that it will impact the whole body. Okay, so we don't think that, okay, if there's one point in the body that is not functioning and the rest is functioning for normal, it can not compensate for that loss of that body part. Now we will talk about some key terminologies. So what are levels of organization or organism, or the organ system, the organ tissue, the cell, organelle, the molecule, atom. So atom is the basic unit of matter. It's the basic unit of life. It consists of protons, neutrons, and electrons. And it has oxygen within it as an example. Okay, so oxygen is an atom. The molecule is a group of atoms. So when they join together, it becomes more than one atom. They bond together. They have got different types of bonds. Some have weak bonds, some have very strong bonds. They represent the smallest fundamental unit of a chemical compound. The example is H2O, which is water, a combination of hydrogen and oxygen. And then going to more complexities, you have the organelle, which is a specialized subunit within a cell that has a specific function. Okay, uh, it's more complicated. It's a set of molecules and atoms that are joined together that perform a specific function. Then you have a cell, which is the basic unit of life. Whatever life we have, it is based on cells. Okay. When we say that there's cell death, for instance, in the heart, if there's cell death, it goes into myocardial infarction. Let's say that there's less oxygen supply to a cell. It goes into a condition where there's cell lysis, cell death. So that is known, that is the mechanism behind a cell and its functioning. So it's a basic unit of life, the smallest unit of living organism that can carry out all functions of life. Now, one cell, we get into more complexities where there's a group of cells, similar cells. Okay, the cells within my eye are different compared to the cells within my brain. They comprise of a tissue. So my brain is made up of numerous cells, and those numerous cells join together to form a tissue. So a group of similar cells that work together to perform a specific function. So the eye, what the eye does, the brain will not do that. What the brain does, the spinal cord will not do that. What the spinal cord does, the tongue will not do that. They're all tissues. And then comes more complex, an organ, a group of different tissues. So we had a cell going towards amalgamation, joining together to form a function, to perform a function, that's a tissue, and then join together to form an organ. So a group of different tissues that work together to perform a specific function or set of functions is known as an organ. Then we go to an organ system, more complex. So different organs, they work together to perform a specific set of function. For instance, your brain, it's performing, it's controlling several body functions, like the eye, the you name it. So it's the eye, it's the heart, it's the muscle, it's the muscle. So all of these join together to perform one specific function, and that is known as an organ system. Okay, so and as we see that touch and other functions, they are all performed through the brain and through the nervous system itself. We'll talk in detail about that. And then there is an organism, the individual living entity composed or comprising of multiple organ systems that work together to maintain life. Okay, this is the figure of a cell where you have different structures within it. So it's a nucleus. It's within the nucleus is the nucleolus. You have the mitochondria, the lysosomes. They have all different functions. Okay, within a cell. So we talked about the cell, which is the basic unit of life and the smallest unit of living organism that can carry out all functions of life. Coming towards the tissue, there are four types of tissue. There's a connective tissue, muscle tissue, epithelial tissue, and nervous tissue. Nervous tissue, just like the brain, the spinal cord, the name suggests. Connective tissue is within our blood vessels. Okay, they're a specialized type of tissue. This is the histological diagrams that have been made for different types of tissues. Now, remember, tissues come from the joining of cells. Okay, so there are different cells that join together to perform a function that is known as a tissue. These are epithelial tissue. So the skin above your hand, that's epithelial tissue. That's the epithelium. Epi means above. So the epithelial tissue. And muscle tissue, as we know, the heart is made up of a muscle tissue. Your muscles, your different muscles in your body, they're all muscular. So as you can see, they don't only have different shapes and sizes, different types of organization. They also have different functions. Come towards more complexity. So it was a cell, then the tissue, then the organ. Your heart is an organ. It is made up of cardiac tissues. Okay, so joining together to perform a function that make your heart pump. So what does your heart do? It pumps blood. So it's got a pumping mechanism. Smooth muscle tissues that make your heart stable and flexible so the arteries can contract, and the cells that help prevent clotting of blood. Okay, so if there's no pumping mechanism and there's no flexibility, your arteries are made up of all connective tissues. So they expand and they contract, and that is to prevent clotting of blood. Now coming towards the organ system, there are 12 organ systems in the human body. These are the integumentary system, skeletal system, muscular, nervous system, endocrine system. You have the cardiovascular system, the lymphatic system, the respiratory system, digestive system, urinary system, and the reproductive and excretory system. So the integumentary system, it encloses internal body structures, and it's the site of many sensory receptors, such as the hair and the skin and the nails. You have the skeletal system, which is made up of the cartilage, the bones, and the joints. The muscular system is made up of all muscles, your tendons. These enable movements and help maintain body temperature as well. The nervous system, the brain, spinal cord, and the peripheral nerves. Okay, so you have central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. We'll talk about this. This detects and processes sensory information within your body, and it activates body responses. The endocrine system is made up of different organs as well. So you have the pituitary gland, different glands there, the thyroid gland, the pancreas, the adrenal glands, and the testes and the ovaries. For males, it is testes, ovaries is for females. And the cardiovascular system, so you have the heart, blood vessels, okay, and they carry nutrients, deliver oxygen and nutrients to the tissues, and they control the temperature in the body. Now coming towards the nervous system. So how is the human nervous system created? How is it controlled? What are the mechanisms behind it? We'll talk a little bit in detail about this. So the nervous system has two main parts, as I said, the central nervous system, Now, the central nervous system is made up of the brain and sorry, the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. So you have the central nervous system, which is made up of the brain and the spinal cord. The peripheral nervous system is made up of nerves that branch off from the spinal cord and extend to all parts of the body. Okay, so you have what is the and this peripheral nervous system. Hello, good morning. Good morning, Alexis. Hi, I'm Dr. Anita Khoso. This session is recorded, so you'll have a copy of the recordings as well. We were talking about aspects of human physiology, where we were going into the process of understanding the human body and how the organ systems are developed. So you can have a look at what we have done before through the recordings, because it's been 17 minutes, so I've been speaking. Now we are talking about the nervous system. So if you have any questions, please let me know. And you can have a look at this recording. And if you have any questions later on, I can also give you answers if you have any questions then. Yeah, so sorry for that. So we have the parasympathetic nerves and the sympathetic nerves. That's how the brain is made. So they have different functions. Parasympathetic nerves, they have functions like constricting of the pupil. They stimulate the saliva, the spit that we have, the saliva in our mouth. They constrict airways. So everything that the sympathetic system does, the parasympathetic does the opposite of it. So if the parasympathetic nerves, they constrict the pupil, the sympathetic nerves dilate the pupil. Okay. If there's more stimulating of the saliva through the parasympathetic nerves, the sympathetic nerves inhibit salivation. So you feel your mouth is very dry. Whereas there's constriction of the airways leading to congestion, there's relaxation of the sympathetic through the sympathetic nerves. So let's say there's a person who's coming with a lot of respiratory distress, and the parasympathetic nerves are very active at that time, which is constricting their airways. What you would want to do is giving a drug that relaxes the airways. Okay, so what the parasympathetic nerves do, they slow the heartbeat. Now, if there's a person who, that's called bradycardia. So if there's a person, and all of this, just remember that all of this is controlled through the spinal cord and the brain. Okay, so the parasympathetic nerves, they slow down the heart rate, whereas there is an increase in heart rate if there's a sympathetic nerve stimulation. Let's say I'm planning to run. My sympathetic nerves start working there. Fight or flight, fight and flight response. So my pupils will dilate. My heartbeat starts working, like my heart starts racing. I start feeling anxious, for instance. But other functions of my body decrease in the sympathetic nervous system. Now, in the parasympathetic nervous system, I'm not going to go too much into detail, talk a bit about it later on, but these are the major functions of the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nerves. Okay, and the stomach, through the parasympathetic nervous system, it stimulates activity of the stomach, whereas there's inhibition of activity of the stomach through the sympathetic nervous system. There's parasympathetic stimulation, which inhibits release of glucose, and it stimulates the activity of the intestines and contracts the bladder. So your bladder is contracting more, whereas there's more relaxation of the bladder. Okay, so as you can see, there are different functions, but they're a complete opposite of each other. The sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the whole setup of the peripheral nervous system. Okay, so peripheral is all apart from the central. So central is brain and spinal cord, peripheral is all other body parts. These nerves spread out everywhere. I'll you can have a look at this video when you're free. We talks about the nervous system in 9 minutes. It's the same that I've talked about already. Now coming towards digestive system. The digestive system, obviously, its function is to assist in digestion, to support digestion. What is digestion? It breaks down your food, the nutrients that you have. It's made up of mouth, the pharynx or the throat, the esophagus, the stomach, small intestine, large intestine, the rectum, and the anus. You also have the salivary glands within your oral cavity, within your mouth, the liver, the gallbladder, pancreas. These make juices. Okay, so these are glands which make juices, which are which are helpful for digestion, and they also produce enzymes. Enzymes help the body digest food and liquid ingredients. Okay, so this is a very good video that you would want to see later on, how your digestive system works, by Emma Brees. I'm not going to go into details. You can look at it when you have the presentations. The cardiovascular system, that's another system. So we're talking different systems within the body. This system, we've talked about the nervous system, the digestive system, now the cardiovascular system. It provides blood supply throughout the body, and this is by responding to various stimuli, and it controls the velocity, the amount of blood that's carried through the vessels. So if it's too much, the heart slows down its pumping through, like I had mentioned earlier, that the blood vessels or the arteries and the capillaries within our body, they're made up of connective tissue, and they have nervous circulation there. So when there's a lot of blood here in the artery, it's a vessel. When there's a lot of blood, and what happens is that there's stretch receptors. So if they stretch too much, it gives your brain a signal, and your brain then slows down the pumping or the stimulating pumping activity of the heart. So your heart slows down the pumping so that increased amount or increased pressure can be adjusted throughout the body. Okay. So this is how the heart and the nervous system work together. There's a whole meshwork of blood vessels throughout the body. Okay. Now, if you can appreciate that there's blue colored blood and there's red colored blood. Red colored blood is because it is oxygenated blood. Okay. It carries oxygen, rich blood to the body. It goes from the heart, and it's actually getting the oxygen from the lungs. Okay, that's where the oxygen comes in from to our body. And this blue colored is oxygen lacking blood, deoxygenated blood. That is why it's blue. It's not got any oxygen. So this is where the waste products are excreted. And then this goes again to the lungs because it has to be expelled out. Okay, and more oxygen rich blood needs to be taken in. The cardiovascular system comprises of the heart, the arteries, the veins, and capillaries. Again, there's a video to understand the cardiovascular system in more detail. Now we come towards the respiratory system. You have your nose, your mouth, the respiratory where we breathe, the throat, the voice box or the larynx, the windpipe, and the lungs. So air enters the respiratory system through your mouth and your nose. If it goes to the nostrils, they are called nares. The air is humidified and warmed there. That internal system is very warm compared to our external system. Okay, and you have right and left lungs, the different lobes within the lungs. So this is an example. Now within the lungs, you have these small capillary, these small alveoli through which oxygen, you see this alveolus, I hope my screen is visible to you. So this alveolus, it's a unit within the lung. Okay, you have millions of alveoli there, and these have a meshwork or a cover of blood vessels, pulmonary arteries. Pulmonary means, pulmo means lungs. So they're pulmonary arteries and veins. Okay, so the pulmonary vein has oxygenated blood, which it takes from, so whatever oxygen comes, it comes to this alveoli. Now they're very thin in structure, and the reason why they're made in this blobs is because there's not much space in the lungs. But these blobs, when you see them, it gives enough space for air to be coming in and going out, for oxygen to be coming in and carbon dioxide to be going out. And you have these blood vessels. So once oxygen comes in, it goes into these blood vessels, it turns red, oxygenated blood, and it goes throughout the body wherever oxygen is required, everywhere, actually. Again, there's a video to watch and understand in more detail. The excretory system. The excretory system is there to help us in excretion. Again, it's made up of different organs. So you have the kidneys, the ureter, the urinary bladder, the urethra. They remove waste of cellular metabolism, maintain salt water balance. My internet is a bit shaky, and filters out toxins from the body. Okay, so your excretory system, as it mentions, the kidneys, the ureters, and the urinary bladder, and the urethra. So whatever waste products are there in our body, they remove them. And there's also maintenance of salt water balance, and it filters out toxins from the body. Again, a video to understand the human excretory system. Then we have the endocrine system. I have to go a bit faster because obviously there are other sessions as well, which are planned at 11 o'clock. So the endocrine system, it's a complex network of glands and organs, and it uses hormones. And we have organs, we have enzymes also. So there's different body functions like reproduction, you have growth, development, there's injury, stress. These all are there. Um, they function all together, not as one unit. As one unit, it's the brain that controls your heart, the other organs as well. So it's not just, let's say, it's not just the pituitary gland that is functioning in isolation. No, it has stimulus from other glands, other organs as well. And if one goes wrong, it impacts the rest of the body. Then this is a video to see for the endocrine system to understand it more in detail. Now we'll describe the levels of organization within an organism. I had mentioned this earlier, so I'm not going to go into details. You can have a look at the video recordings. So atom is the smallest unit of matter. It cannot be broken down further by chemical reactions. You have atoms, single atoms such as carbon, oxygen, hydrogen. You have molecules which join together to form which are more complex than atoms. You have lipids, you have proteins, you have carbohydrates, you have nucleic acids. Cells which are even more complex from the molecules. So you have cells, which is the basic unit of life. And they're the smallest living things that can carry out all functions of life, such as metabolism, growth, and reproduction. Then you have tissues, which are more complex. I will not go into details. I've talked a lot about it in detail earlier. Organs, which are more complex organ systems, and together they form an organism. This is how whatever we've talked about, starting from the atom, then the molecule, then the tissues, then the organ level, then the organ system. So level 1, cell, which is the basic unit of life, it helps in all functions of the body. Okay, and cells are made up of organ molecules. They contain nucleic acids, which are DNA and RNA. They're filled with fluid, which is known as cytoplasm. And they have a membrane made up of lipids. Okay, lipids is a component, which is a fatty component. Cells also contain structures like within the cytoplasm, which is the liquid within the cells, which are these units. These structures are known as organelles, which perform different functions. Cells may be prokaryotic. Pro means before, they don't have a nucleus. Very very small organisms or very small cells like the bacteria and the different celled organisms, archaea. They were uh, they're ancient organisms as well, as you can say. They function without a nucleus, or eukaryotic, which has a nucleus. Within that nucleus, you have the DNA. So, for instance, you have the plants, the animals, the protists, the fungi. In animals, in humans like us, most cells combine to form tissues, but some cells are found independent of solid tissues and have their own functions. Red blood cell, for instance, it is found circulating in the bloodstream, and it carries oxygen throughout the human body, and it's an example of an independent cell. So cells don't necessarily have to be always associated with organized tissue. Tissue is a group of the cells, as I mentioned earlier. The connective tissues, which are made up of fibrous cells and give shape and structure to the organs. They're muscle tissues that contract together and allow animals to move. You have epithelial tissues. They are the outer layers of the organs, such as the skin. So the skin is also an organ, or the outer layer of the stomach. The nervous tissue is made up of specialized cells that transmit information through electrochemical impulses, such as the tissues of nerves, uh, the, the spinal cord, and the brain. You have organs which are more complex. You have the organs such as the parenchyma. This performs the function of this is used to perform the organ functions. The stroma, which is connective tissue specific to organs, and the epithelial, as I said, it's above the organ, like the skin, above the skin. And organs may be solid or hollow and vary. They're different in size and complexity. So you have the lungs, the heart, the brain. They're all examples of organs. Then you have organ systems working together. So a whole organism here. This is the organism as a rat. It is made up of cells, of tissues, and organ systems. And the organs, and the whole system is known as the organ system. I'm not going to go into details. This is what all over here. Examples of major organ systems in the human body. There, we've given examples. I've talked about this in detail earlier. So 11 major organ systems so in the body, and they're made up of specialized organs and tissues, and they work together to perform specific functions. You have the circulatory system, the heart, which is made up of the heart, blood vessels, and the blood. Their main function is to transport oxygen, nutrients, and hormones. I've given a detailed list of all of these earlier. The respiratory system, uh, it helps in taking in oxygen and expelling or releasing or carbon dioxide. The digestive system helps with the digestion. The nervous system controls all other body functions. The endocrine system is made up of various glands that help regulate hormones, which help to control the many body functions. The immune system, as the name suggests, it gives protection from pathogens and foreign invaders. We have the lymph nodes within our body. You have the spleen, the thymus, and the bone marrow, which comprise the immune system. The muscular system, all muscles in the body, they enable us to move, perform physical activities. Skeletal system is made up of bones, the cartilage, and joints. It provides support and protects the internal organs. In the integumentary system is the skin, the hair, and the nails. They protect the body from external damage and help regulate body temperature. The urinary system, uh, system. There's a relationship between the structures and function of the organ system. So organ system in the human body, they're composed of different organ tissues, and they're closely related to each other. And without their nexus or without their coordination, you cannot perform different body functions. For instance, respiratory system made up of lungs, you have the bronchi, the trachea, and other structures. These all work together for the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. And you have tiny air sacs known as alveoli, which allow efficient gas exchange between the air and the bloodstream. You have the digestive system. All the parts of the digestive system are geared towards digestion. Okay. and the structure of the small intestine with that's a long folded surface area. So whenever there's long and folds, that means there's less space, but then those folds, if you stretch them, it's very long. It's actually very, very long, um, that structure, just as I talked about the lungs. So this function of the of the digestive system, where there's villi, the finger-like projections within the small intestine, they help in absorption of nutrients from the food. So there are different relationships. So if one is not working, the other fails to work as well. So this is all in detail what I've just talked about. Read the handout on the on your Moodle page. How do systems work together in the human? So you'll have more idea and about it. These are some of the references that we have. I'll stop sharing this. I'll share the second learning outcome with you in just a minute. And then we'll quickly go towards understanding of the objectives of the assessment. So if you have a look at the recordings, they're self-explanatory. And they'll give you a good understanding. So now we're trying to understand the homeostasis, which is the key process which maintains internal environment. Homeo is the internal environment, and stasis is regulation, okay, of the body. We'll talk about positive, negative feedback mechanisms. We'll talk about blood glucose, osmoregulation, the endocrine system. So what is homeostasis? It is a state of steady internal physical, chemical, social conditions maintained by living systems. This is the condition where there's normal functioning for the organism. And it includes a lot of things like body temperature, fluid balance. What do? My body starts producing, starts contracting. And sometimes you shiver when your body is very cold. What happens? There's internal um, heat being produced, because of which your body system works normally. Homeostasis is the ability of an organism or system to maintain a stable. So what you want to do is create a stable internal environment despite external surface changes. Okay. Examples are the regulation of the body temperature, which I just talked about, body blood pressure, pH balance, and blood sugar levels. When this fails, there are various diseases, problems that happen because of this. Now, homeostasis, regulation of blood sugar. We'll give an example of how blood sugar is regulated. And others as well. Just let me have a look here. So we've talked about what homeostasis is. So we'll give an example of the liver, the pancreas, and the kidney, and the brain, which help maintain homeostasis. The liver is responsible for metabolizing or destroying toxic substances. So if you've had a toxic drug or a toxic substance, you'd have the liver that metabolize that or remove that toxin from your body. And it then and this happens when signaling from the pancreas, which maintains carbohydrate metabolism. It is a little difficult for you to absorb all of this, whatever I'm talking in one lecture. But if you have a look at the recordings, as I said, and have a look at the videos, it will give you more in-depth information, which is not possible within one lecture, unfortunately. I'm trying as much as I can. The liver is also there to help regulate your lipid metabolism, which is your fat. So if the liver stops functioning, your fat or your cholesterol increases. And that's how it happens. So the kidneys are responsible for regulating your blood water levels, reabsorption of substances into the blood, maintenance of salt and iron levels in the blood, regulation of blood pH, and excretion of urea and other waste products. Then you have the hypothalamus, which is in the brain. It is there to regulate the body temperature, the heart rate, blood pressure, and circadian rhythm, which is known as the wake up or sleep cycle. Homeostasis, as I said to you earlier, there are different ways as it's as it's maintained. So the integrating center or the control center, it receives information from the sensors. So you have throughout your body system, you have sensors, and they initiate this response to maintain homeostasis. Okay, the most important example is the hypothalamus, which is the region of your brain that controls everything from the body temperature to heart rate and the blood pressure, your satiety or your feeling of fullness, your circadian rhythm, which is known as your sleep and wake up cycles. Any effector is an organ or a tissue that receives information from the integrating center, which is mainly the brain and the sensors, and it acts to bring about changes that are needed for homeostasis. As I said, if there's high blood pressure, there's regulation where the blood pressure then is reduced through these sensory receptors and through various other mechanisms. Now, there's a negative feedback mechanism, which I had mentioned a little bit before. So let's say your body temperature falls. Sorry. Your body temperature falls, and what happens if it's very cold and your body temperature falls? It has a negative feedback mechanism. The blood vessels constrict so that the heat within your system is conserved. So there's more contraction of your blood vessels. Your sweat glands do not secrete fluid. If you secrete fluid, you lose a lot of heat. Okay, so when it's hot, we lose a lot of sweat. But here, that those sweat glands are not function. They reduce their function, like they're shivering, as I said, that generates heat, which warms the body, and heat is retained, and it goes back to the normal body temperature. Okay, that's the negative feedback. Again, when the body temperature rises, I'm feeling very hot. What your blood vessels do, they dilate. So anything that dilates, it relaxes. This releases, this results in heat loss to the environment. Your sweat glands secrete fluid. So whatever fluid there is, the fluid is evaporated and heat is lost from the body. And the heat, when it is lost, it is gone, it goes to the environment, and that is to maintain the normal body temperature. I'm not going to go into the details of this. There's a positive feedback mechanism of the blood clotting cascade. So there are certain extrinsic factors like damage or injury that happens within your body. It activates the cleavage or the breaking of zymogen proteins. This is too much in detail. I'll talk a little more about the general things instead of the very detailed things. This I can do later and then send you as a recording. I'm conscious of the time. The endocrine system, it is made up of different organ systems that work towards the body metabolism, energy levels, reproduction, growth and development, and response to injury, stress, and mood. You can have a look at this video, which explains in detail about the endocrine system. The concept of homeostasis is, again, maintaining a stable internal environment. You have the body temperature, the blood glucose levels, blood pressure, pH. These feedback mechanisms involve the sensors, such as the receptors in the skin, and these detect changes in the temperature or the glucose level, and the effectors, such as the muscle and the glands, which produce responses to restore balance. When the body's internal environment, as I said, if it's not normal, there's a negative feedback mechanism that goes to process, and then it helps going back to homeostasis. So these are different ways. I'm just share, and I'll quickly share the presentation with you where there is the assignment brief, which we will be doing for the next couple of minutes. So what happens here is that if we discuss the assignment brief with you, this gives you 2 whole weeks to work on your assessment and to submit it. So if we're talking about the assignment today is the 15th of February, that means your deadline for submitting this assignment is exactly 2 weeks, which is the 1st of March. Okay, so this is the assignment brief. So when you have the assignment brief, it is all there on in your Moodle page. You have the details there as well. You have the Word document there. Just keep that, and have to mention is all about them. So you have your student name, center, which is UK University, the tutor name, which is be myself, Dr. Anita. This, leave it as it is. Okay. So what happens here? There's a student declaration that you have to fill in. Please have a read of this, and then under this goes your signature. Coming towards the assignment brief, you need to undertaking a typical day, such as eating, drinking, physical work, and exercise. Here you have to describe the structure and function of the relevant organ systems that allow the body to carry out these functions in a controlled and coordinated way. So the examples include the effect of activity on the heart rate and digestion, such as the cardiovascular system and the digestive system. The effect of ingestion of meal on blood glucose level, which is the endocrine system. The role of the excretory system in excretion and osmoregulation. The role of the nervous system in relation to activities and other systems. Please, I urge you to have a look at the video recording, okay, which will be uploaded on your system, and also have a look at the different videos that were shared. The links are there for you to look at, and in more detail, okay, to work on this assessment. And the last is the role of the nervous system in relation to activities and other systems. Now, what we are assessing from you is to understand that the human body comprises organ system. This is what we are looking for. Okay, all of these learning outcomes. So we describe the levels of organization within an organism. We described examples of the major organ systems in the human body. We explained the relationship between structures and functions within the organ system. And we explained how organ systems work together to maintain normal body functioning. The second part was to understand that homeostasis is the key process that maintains the internal environment of the body, where we went on to explain the concept of homeostasis, and we explained how the endocrine system is well suited to maintaining normal homeostasis. I'll stop sharing my slide here. Any questions? Is there any question?
I'm kindly asking to see the page where we have the first page that we need to include on the assignment, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is that not on your Moodle page? That should be on your Moodle. It looks like this. I'll just it should be something like this. Aspects of human physiology. If it's not there, you can always text or email at learnerwork@ukversity.co.uk, and that is actually where you will be submitting your assessment. So I'll quickly share that link with you as well. learnerwork@ukversity.co.uk. Please email them, and they will help you go through the process if you're having trouble. So this has an indicative count of 3,500 words. You've had a look at how you're being asked to submit the assessment, and yeah, this is the assignment brief. So going towards what is indicated within your assignment further on. So we've talked about this, sorry. So now in your report, this report that you will be talking about, it's you will be giving a label diagram of each organ system, and you will briefly describe the levels of organization within an organism. We've talked in complete detail about this. Explanation of how each key organ system contributes to overall functioning of the body in activities that are listed above. An explanation of the homeostatic controls in control mechanisms and how they are important in the body, both the general concept and relation to activities. an explanation of the role of the endocrine system in homeostasis, a comparison and contrast of the endocrine and the nervous system in relation to your report, and a range of appropriate resources or sources of information cited accurately and included in the list at the end in Harvard format. So your references should be whatever you're taking from external, um, ex externally from web, you will be referencing it through Harvard referencing style, which has been given in detail in your previous briefs. So this is the assignment brief. This is a report that you will be expected to submit. Yeah. Were you able to find the document?
Yes, I was able to.
Okay, that's
Thank
fine.
you.
No problem. Please have a look at this recording. If you have any questions, please come back to me. I know it's been a very compact lesson, but if you go through the recordings there and the video links that are shared with you, they will give you further explanation and will help you in your assessment as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alexis. All the best. See you soon. Take care. Have a nice day. Bye.